person after it.
To your credit, you're so good at it. I mean, I started describing you like that, like, yeah, as a real artist of being there in front of the camera. Like, you're so good at really letting go of what the whole situation looked like. And that's really, really rare. The other times I've encountered that, I've shot like births and deaths and funerals and more like actual documentary stuff of really intense stuff. Mm-hmm. And it exists there too, because something so much bigger than, you know, being photographed is going on, that people have their guard down, have their emotions on their sleeve, have what they're feeling on their faces. Mm-hmm. But it's really hard to get that when the point of what you're doing is taking photos, you know, when that's the big exercise going on. And to be able to mix that level of performance art and documentary in a way with it being like a photographer model dynamic was exactly the kind of work I wanted to make.
Me too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I feel like I love failing to have the words. I love that it is partly, there's always been this part of me where I'm like, it's mine. Like, I can't even explain it. Like, it feels like this something that I got to do for myself. Like, and if you like it, then great. But like, it was interesting too, because I feel like everyone was so scared, or I even was a little bit, that it would be like sexualized or like looked at in this way. And honestly, like, I got so comfortable with my sexuality through you. Like, and mind you, I was like, you know, I grew up being sexualized, but it was like, when you get to claim it as your own and you don't have it like this projected thing onto you, like of the male gaze, but you get to like redefine that of what your sexuality means to you with yourself. Like, I mean, and feeling beautiful in my own way that is like no one else's. Like, no one else is kind of beautiful that is just mine. Like, that you cannot give to someone, but you somehow managed. Like, you gave me that feeling with myself. Like, you held the space, which I think is your gift, is that you are so good at holding space for people to like come undone and like stop. Like, you'll like be quiet if something, like, you know, somebody's about to get there with themselves, and you'll like let them. And it's your like true gift as an artist, is like that people can just be with you.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
But yeah, like, I mean, I think there was, it was like, if I got to this point where I'm like, if somebody's going to just sexualize our work, then that's on them.
Yeah.
And fuck them. Like, if they can't see what it really is, like, I'm not going to be scared or do anything different on my end because of that exists in the world. Like, the right people will get it. The right people will connect with me, and I will like be able to connect with, and that will understand it. And then there's going to be weirdos. And I'm like, and that I couldn't shift the work because of that. Like, and I think that was like a lot of the concern. And I'm like, I had to get to a point where I was like, well, if that happens, then that's theirs and it's not mine. And I get to choose what's mine, like, and I get to choose my comfortability in my body, and I get to choose, like, and it was interesting because my body was changing so much in the photos. I had pimples at times. Like, I mean, I had like severe acne, like I was, you know, like my chest was small, my chest was big. Like, it was like, there was lots of hormonal shifts happening in the photos. And every single time it was confrontational to see them. I'm like, holy shit, I look like a new person. Like, that's how fast my body was changing. And I think, and I wasn't really doing anything differently, other than, if I think back, like, there was just stress changes and that was just affecting me. But I really had to like let go of so much of the like criticism about my body and be like, oh, that's how she was that day, and I'm so glad I have this in a photo.
Yeah, because we weren't very into retouching or doing a lot to make it...
Yeah. Any different.
Yeah, any different.
It just was what it was, and I'm like, I always got it back, and I was like, what a gift that this is in photo. And like, you know, there were some that I felt just so like pretty in too, and then there were some where I was like, oh, that's something that I'm going to have to love, because if you don't, then who the fuck is going to? Like, you're going to have to love this. It's you, and you have to love all the parts of it and all of it. And like, you helped me to do that because you always loved me as I was. And I'm like,
yeah, we had a couple road bumps really early on, but then you like, I remember really early on, I like finished one and I was like, oh, this is amazing. And I sent it to you and you like cropped it and put it on Instagram. And I was so mad back when, that was like a real personal insult. And then you're like, oh, I just can't with the whole thing. Like, it's too much. But really early on, a couple that I sent you and you're like, oh, whoa, I don't like this. Yeah. It was so quick, just like days or weeks later that you wrote back and you were like, I actually love it. That was just really hard to see. Like, because when you're starting out to, do that, it's pretty confrontational. It's pretty scary. Mm-hmm. But so quickly you came around. And then when we were shooting just a couple times later, you were so willing to be seen or willing to just act how you felt. It was just so beautiful and awesome to make work like that. Yeah.
And just to wrap it, but like, I feel like that was the biggest lesson of all of our work. And I feel like in a great lesson to apply to the rest of my life, like, if you have to confront it and if it's a little bit scary, then that's where the work is. That's where, that's where you're actually like gonna break through to something more that is more you and more true and just like an actual deeper embodiment of who you were meant to be. Like, it's through the confrontational stuff. It's not in the comfy cozies. Like, it's right there. It's on the other side of that. It's looking a little deeper and feeling into that a little bit more. I think that helped. I mean, it saved me to not be afraid to do that. It saved me to go deeper with myself and wonder why things were getting negative reactions from me. Like, I was curious. I was willing to look at that long enough to where I was like, okay, this is actually beautiful. And that is all the filters and bullshit. And I like to talk about like the smoke and mirrors. I don't know if you've ever read the 4 Agreements, but he has this whole part in it where he's like all the like, it's just me and you, and all the shit between is everything you learned in this life. And like, almost that is just like conditioning. But it's like, once you take all that out, then you can just see like the beauty, the realness, and all of the built up identity that you're holding down and that needs to keep on going is just crap. Like, let it go. Like, let it all go. It's just me and you here, and I'm just so grateful for everything that you've done for me and the building of who I am, and I'm so grateful that you're here. And yeah, so where can everyone follow you so that they can keep up with your work and see what you're up to and see what you're doing?
I have a website. It's ryanmuirhead.com. I update it religiously, like once every 7 years. So surely an update's coming soon.
Guys, his prints are incredible. Like, everything you do is so freaking beautiful. I have several of his prints and I will hold on to them for dear life. And they're like, I mean, they're like the types of things that you have with you that like you'll never let go of. Like, I mean, that in my wedding ring, and I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah. I need to make a couple more, so I'll make some of images we should be sharing with this podcast.
All right.
I think my takeaway is that it's really, really hard to find someone to share those kind of experiences with. So if you are in it and you find it, really treasure it, even if it's difficult and challenging, because it's probably difficult and challenging because you're trying to do something amazing like that.
That part. Wow. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you guys for listening. Bye.
Have a great rest of your life. You and all you out there.